Hello, this is Tahira from Simply Schoolhouse coming to you with another video. Here on this channel, we talk about all things homeschool related, and today we're going to be talking about life skills, and one of the life skills is food preservation. And this video is twofold because I will not only be talking about some of the processes and what we do in our homeschool and how the children get involved, but also I will be giving a review on the 4Patriots freeze dryer, which is one of their new products, and the freeze dryer that they came out with. So if you want to hear all of the pros and cons and everything else about it, keep watching. I was super excited when I saw that they were selling a freeze dryer because I order things from them and I order their freeze dry food. So when I saw that they were offering a freeze dryer, I said, wow, then we can work on freeze drying our own food. So I went ahead and purchased it, and the method of delivery was not the typical UPS or FedEx. They used a different company. This company called Pilot was supposed to come and set everything up and unbox it and put the stand together. It's called the white glove service, which was okay if they didn't set it up. You know, I wasn't too concerned or too troubled by the fact that, I need them to come and set it up, because I wasn't quite certain where I was going to place it in the house. Considering our kitchen is pretty small, I was trying to determine where we would actually put it. But when they showed up, they didn't even offer to set it up. So that was, something that was supposed to be automatic, but it wasn't. Like I said, even so, it wouldn't really matter because I wasn't sure where I was going to put it, but they didn't offer to set it up. The other thing with Pilot, their email stated one delivery date. However, that date actually turned out to be the date they called to set up a future delivery. So a little confusion there. But the machine came, and here you can see the picture of the boxes and how they were delivered. So this is a picture of the machine, and the machine comes with, the freeze dryer comes with 4 trays, 4 stainless steel trays, and they come with silicone mats. And those mats are really, really extremely wonderful and helpful because no matter what you're preparing, it cleans up really, really well with soap and water. So you wash the mats, dry them, and you're ready to go for your next batch. The user interface screen that walks you through the setup, the testing, and then running batches. And it tells you what to do. It tells you when to put the food in, when to insert the food, and it tells you when to check the food to determine if it is completely dry and if you need more time. There you can see a picture of the stand that was included that had to be assembled. So my husband and another gentleman had to assemble it and lift that machine up and put it on it. It was very, very heavy and definitely required 2 people to lift. And then you can see the shelving units with the magnetic door. That is the glass front, and there's a magnetic door. The magnet wasn't extremely tight, and the door did not completely seal with the rubber trim. So I noticed that the screws that attached the door to the freeze dryer were loose. So we had to tighten those up, and then seemingly it worked. Initially, the vacuum, there's 3 tests, and the vacuum test had failed, and I believe that the looseness of the door contributed to that, but also the temperature had to be dropped significantly in order to troubleshoot and run the test again. It took, maybe an hour or longer for the temperature to drop in the machine prior to redoing the vacuum test. But once that door was tightened, then it worked fine.
So I will quickly show you what the freeze dryer came with. It came with a stand, first of all, the stand that the freeze dryer is on, which is a pretty important thing to have because it is extremely, extremely heavy, and it takes about 2 men to lift. You can hear the freeze dryer running right now in the background. It is running a batch of cabbage, 4 trays of cabbage. And currently it is on approximately 71, 72 hours, which I will speak about in the video a little bit later on processing time. So it came with the stand. It came with this vacuum sealer from Nesco, and it came with the bags and an instruction manual. It came with this manual for using the freeze dryer. Very, very basic. Just the components, how to run the tests. You manually run the tests before you start. The heating test, the freezer test, and the vacuum test. This one did not pass, so I had to call customer service to troubleshoot it, and then it finally worked, the vacuum test. So you need to make sure you have a vacuum seal. And this particular model is the oilless vacuum. So there are no external components. The vacuum is internal within the unit. So you do not need the external motor pump and vacuum and oil. So that's the difference between this model and the Harvest Right freeze dryer. So the manual continues to go through how to start it. You can use frozen or unfrozen food. Unfrozen food will take longer. And then it tells you the stages it goes through. You just put the food in when it's the right temperature. Frozen food has to be placed when it's about 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Unfrozen food can go in when it's, a higher temperature. It will take longer, a couple of hours longer, for the freeze dryer to freeze the food before it starts with the deep freezing, and then to completion. The drain hose is just a simple thing. You just open it and close it. It's closed during the processing, and when everything is complete, you open it. It drains the water and also breaks the vacuum seal so that you can open the door, check your food, see if it's completely dry. If not, you can run it for extra time. And that's it. And then there's just a couple of troubleshooting things in the back. And then it came with this bucket. It's a collapsible bucket, and those are the items. The vacuum sealer, the bucket, the manual, and the stand. These are things that I use. These are things that I had already, which was the Food Saver caps, so that you can use the vacuum sealer to vacuum out the air from the jar. And then I also have this that I purchased and downloaded from Rose Red Homestead's website, which I really enjoy her videos on all things food preservation, canning, dehydrating, freeze drying. So this is her guide. And just to go over a couple of the differences between this freeze dryer and one of the most popular home freeze dryers out there, which is Harvest Right. There's a huge price difference. This machine is approximately double what the Harvest Right freeze dryer is. I'm not sure what the increase in price is for, but I do know, like I said before, that the motor, the motor that creates the vacuum, and the oil that you have to use for it in Harvest Right is an external component, where here everything is internal in the cabinet, in the machine, so you don't have to worry about doing any extra maintenance. Now, I will say that when the question was asked to 4Patriots who the manufacturer is of their freeze dryers, they would not release that information. And so they used the manufacturer, but I'm not too sure who. I mean, whether it's Harvest Right or another manufacturer, I don't know. But the screen looks very similar. The way that the screen operates, the menus that it goes through looks very similar to the one from Harvest Right. There is quite a bit of a difference, however, with what I've seen as far as processing times with this machine versus the Harvest Right machine.
So we started with meat, and you can see in the picture there that there was some grilled steak there, some meatballs, and chicken skewers. The meatballs had pineapple in them, and I didn't realize at the time, but pineapple is one of the fruits that takes the longest to freeze dry. So because that was mixed with the meat, that increased the time. And also the chicken skewers, I didn't realize, or just, doing things automatically, went to go ahead and freeze the chicken skewers like I froze the beef and the meatballs in order to prepare it for the freeze dryer, and forgot to take out the wooden skewers. When you freeze the meat first, then you save a few hours in the freeze dryer. Otherwise, the freeze dryer will go ahead and freeze the meat. So because the wooden skewers were frozen in there, that could have contributed also to the extreme amount of time that the meat took in the freeze dryer. So these 4 trays of meat took approximately 80 hours to freeze. Yes, 80 hours to freeze. Where typically meat may take 36, 40 hours, or even a little bit less, this took double that amount of time. I called tech support probably 3 times. The first time I called tech support, I spoke to a gentleman named Ryan, who was very, very helpful. And he emailed me, he emailed me some written documentation in helping to troubleshoot at first the vacuum seal, and then, just about the meat times. And so I had followed up with him, and he was very helpful, trying to do his best. I had to call 2 other times just because I was starting to get concerned with the extensive amount of time that the meat was taking. And finally, it's not the customer service. They do what they can by pulling up information in their knowledge base on the computer, and what they cannot answer, then they reach out to tech support through text messaging or whatever other means, and they wait for tech support to get back. Tech support has machines in hand that they have been using and trying, and so that's how they are able to answer questions about the machine. Because again, this is a new machine, a new item, a new product for 4Patriots. So after the 3rd time, they were sort of, well, there's nothing more we can provide. You just have to wait and see, you just have to wait. The meat can take up to 125 hours. So because every time they gave me a time, when I was approaching that time, okay, well, now we're at this time and it's still running. Is there anything wrong with the machine? Is this normal? Do all of your customers who are processing meat, does it take this long? I just wanted to know, is this normal? Or is this normal for this machine? Or is this a glitch? So basically, they told me it could take up to 125 hours to process meat, which, again, that seems very, very, very extensive. And I know that this machine is a little bit different because it does not have the external component, and everything is encompassed in the freeze dryer itself. So again, I don't know if that's a factor. But anyway, the meat finally finished at approximately 80 hours. Here, I jarred the meat, I put it in the cans or jars and vacuum sealed it with the Food Saver vacuum seal tops. And my children, as they are involved in all of these processes and learning how to preserve food, in many different ways, and now they're adding freeze dryer to the list. They are here you can see in this short clip where they are vacuum sealing the jar of meat. So we decided to go ahead and try some fruit to see if the fruit took less time to freeze dry. And it did take less time to freeze dry, however, not what I was expecting. I was thinking maybe 1 day. And if it were just the bananas, it probably would have taken 1 day. But there were cherries there, there were blueberries, strawberries, and the combination of all 4 fruits being different densities, it took probably 2 days to completely dry. And I'm not sure if it was a little bit longer, but I think that was about 2 days. So here you can see a picture of all of the trays going into the machine. And here are the jars that were sealed afterwards. Now, when you are sealing or when you are packaging whatever food you're packaging from your freeze dryer, whether it's meat, fruits, vegetables, potatoes, mashed potatoes, soups, stews, eggs, milk, ice cream, whatever it is, it's going to need to be packaged pretty quickly after coming out of the machine, because if you don't, you're running the risk of having the food rehydrate from just the moisture that's in the air. So it's important to package it after coming out of the machine. Now, I've mostly been placing it in the mason jars and vacuum sealing the jars with with oxygen absorbers to remove the oxygen from the jar. Mylar bags are also a very good option because those will vacuum seal as well with the oxygen absorber, or you can actually vacuum seal them with the vacuum sealer using just a little trick to hold the seal open so that it can vacuum seal. And you just need to label those, and they can stay for a very, 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 very long time, just as the jars. There's also the vacuum seal bags, which just from the information that's been placed out there, do not maintain its seal as long as the Mylar bags and the mason jars. Now, with that being said, you just have to make sure that the Mylar bags that you purchase are actually of a very good quality, because the ones that are on Amazon, or the ones that I had purchased from Amazon, had little pinholes in it, which I realized after about 2 days, one bag after a day, and then the second bag after 2 days of being vacuum sealed, started to lose its seal again. So, and when I placed a flashlight in the bag, I could see that there were little tiny specks. So I'm not sure if those were just areas that were scratched off or if they were actual holes. But I did see some of the reviews on that particular brand that also said that, there were holes. I was hoping that maybe that was just, a fluke, but apparently not. So I did send those back. So after the meat and after the fruit, we said, okay, let's do a little bit of vegetables. So we cut up some green onions. My daughter is there chopping the green onions. We were able to get them from Aldi for 85 cents a bag. So we placed, I believe, 8 bags on the 4 trays. So about 2 bags per tray, which you can see here. And that's what the trays looked like prior to going into the freeze dryer. Here is what they looked like after coming out. They were crispy and they were very intense with flavor, which holds true for most of the freeze-dried food after it comes out of the freeze dryer. It is pretty intense because all of the water is removed, so the flavors that remain are pretty concentrated, especially the fruit. Very delicious. You just have to remember that when you are eating freeze-dried food outside of its rehydrated or reconstituted form, that you're drinking plenty of water. not wanting to waste the green onions, my children and I went ahead and placed these in jars with water and put them out in the greenhouse so that they can continue to grow and we can continue to use them. So the machine, the freeze dryer, is currently running with cabbage in the machine. And right now it is up to approximately 72 hours. So again, not quite sure why the processing times for some of the foods seems to be a little excessive compared to other manufacturers and other freeze dryers that are on the market. That being said, I'm just going to quickly give an overall opinion and review some of the pros and some of the cons. And when that batch is complete with the cabbage, then I will, go ahead and show you all what that looks like. But some of the pros, the machine is very simple to use. It's an intuitive machine. All you have to do is follow the prompts that are on the screen. It can detect and it knows when all of the moisture is removed, and it will let you know that it's time to check your food to make sure that the cycle is complete. If it is not completely dry, which you want to make sure that the food is able to be broken easily, it is crisp inside, it is not cool, it is not cold inside. If it's cold inside, it is not completed. So your food should not be cold internally when you break it open. But I have not found with this particular machine that there's any need for any extended processing time. But for goodness sake, at 80 hours and 70 hours, 80 hours, then, I should hope it's not going to take any additional time. The other thing is the outcome. The food is in a really nice state. It has rehydrated well. I tried to rehydrate a few of the meatballs and ate those, and it tasted really good, just as if it did prior to freeze drying it. And just FYI, rehydrating and reconstituting are two different things. So I have not had to reconstitute anything because I have not freeze-dried foods yet that needed to be reconstituted, only foods that needed to be rehydrated. So once I do that, I can give an update. The other thing is that the trays are a pretty nice size. I believe it's 18 by 9 inches, and there are 4 of them, so they can hold a significant amount of food for each batch. Just for an example, the green onions that I made, one batch, the 4 trays, yielded 4 quarts of green onions, which was pretty good. One batch, 4 trays of the strawberries yielded 1.5 quarts of strawberries. And just for comparison's sake, or just, so that you can get an idea of how much food you need to place in there. For one tray, that was about 16 ounces of strawberries, and that one tray will freeze dry and then will weigh, after the freeze drying process, approximately 1 ounce. So 16 ounces of strawberries will weigh about 1 ounce when all is said and done. The food maintains its nutritional value according to research. I haven't personally done nutritional tests on it to see, but that's what the research shows. And the other thing is that, the flavors, if you're just eating it as a snack, and not rehydrating it or reconstituting it like fruits, it tastes really, really good. Just make sure you drink a lot of water. Some of the cons or some of the negative aspects of this particular model of the 4Patriots freeze dryer machine is the noise, but I believe all of them are pretty noisy. And that can be solved by placing it in an area, that you don't have to necessarily hear the noise. But the other thing, and my biggest concern, is the processing time. I just would like to know, is this processing time normal for what I've been doing? Now, like I mentioned, the meat, obviously, I did some things to extend that time erroneously by leaving the wooden skewers in, and also by freeze drying meat that had pineapple mixed in it. So When I do a regular batch of meat, I'm going to pay attention to the time and see, is that super long, or is that more in line with some of the other machines that are on the market? But again, some of the veggies, they're still seemingly taking a long time to process. Some things, can take less and have taken less, like the strawberries that didn't take too long. So I just would like to know, and as I continue to use the machine, I will better understand whether this is something with this particular machine, or was that just something that I did to accidentally extend the time. And the other thing is this consistent across all 4Patriots freeze dryer machines, or is just this something that's going on with my machine in particular? And that's something I really couldn't get a straight answer about from tech support. Customer service, again, they're reading from the knowledge base and the articles or the instructions that they have to give us. But tech support, those are the individuals that are actually testing out the machine. And I haven't really gotten a clear answer as to, is this normal that, some of the foods that I've been drying are taking this amount of time. So that is one of the cons that I will just have to see. The other thing is this machine is like I had mentioned at the beginning of the video, is double the price of the current ones that are on the market. And the other thing but again, it doesn't have the external component. Now, is that the only reason why it is double the price? I don't know. I mean, it works very well, but again, the time just seems to be a little bit more lengthy than it should. So, if you have any questions, you can place them below, and I will try to upload more videos. I actually love having a freeze dryer. It is totally hands off, and you just put the food in there, forget about it, and then it's done. I just need to know, is this the most efficient that this particular model can be, or is this a glitch that I have with this particular machine that was delivered to me?